Hi, this is Jeff from Just Flight Log. This video continues the story of my 2024 trip into Utah. After a long flight with visits to Chaco Canyon, Snake Bridge, and Monument Valley, Paul and I finally made it to the Bluff Airport. We had planned a sunset flight later in the day, crossing Comb Ridge west of the Bluff Airport, and heading north to Road Canyon. From there, we would follow the canyon to the west to Citadel Ruins, a mysterious place I'd heard of but never seen before. Afterwards, we would make a short hop north to Owl Creek Canyon and check out Nevills Arch, before taking the canyon downstream to Comb Ridge and returning to the airport by civil twilight. We took off to the east, keeping the sun out of our eyes before turning west towards Comb Ridge. After crossing over the top of the ridge, we turned north, flying parallel to Comb Ridge for a while before turning up Road Canyon and following it to the west. My friend Todd was in the back seat of my trike. Todd had met us at the airport and was providing ground support on this trip by shuttling us into town for food and gas. I was returning the favor by giving Todd a sunset trike ride. I knew the Citadel was ahead, somewhere on an island butte, separated from the surrounding mesas by a land bridge. I saw it ahead, just off to the right. We're coming up on the ruins now, on the butte at the center of the screen. The ruins were in pristine condition. The walls were flawless and looked like they had a freshly applied layer of brown stucco. Many of the ruins across the southwest are built as defensive strongholds, and this was no exception. The land bridge to the Citadel was quite intimidating. You can see Paul's trike following me across the land bridge as I started a wide, lazy circle around the central butte to set up for a second pass. As we go around, take a close look at the steep drop-offs that surround the Citadel, creating an impenetrable fortress. We headed further up the canyon in search of another ruin, but gave up looking for it and returned for a final view of the Citadel. I set up to fly past the ruins again and was amused at what I saw ahead by the entrance. Standing in front of the ruin was a family of 4, Mom, Dad, and 2 kids. They must have been inside when we passed earlier. I'm sure we gave them a good show. On our flight further up the canyon, we'd flown past the trailhead with parked cars. It would be a long hike back in the dark, and I wondered if they were planning to spend the night here. We left the Citadel and turned north, reaching Owl Creek Canyon and Nevills Arch. I would have never found it if I had not preloaded its GPS location earlier. This was an impressive arch, 145 feet across and 80 feet high. This was turning into one of my most spectacular sunset flights ever. First the Citadel, and now breathtaking Nevills Arch. I made a wide looping circle and examined the series of towers that extended away from the arch and into the canyon. The sun was on the horizon now, and it was time to head back to the airport. I dropped down into Owl Creek Canyon, a very scenic and wild little canyon. There were a few swirls of downslope katabatic winds now and then, but all in all it was a very pleasant flight cruising down this canyon. We crossed Comb Ridge again and took a quick look at Monarch Cave ruins, inside this winding gully carved into the back of Comb Ridge. The ruins are under the overhang in the shade, sitting above a pool of water at the bottom of this narrow canyon. I need to come back some morning when the ruins are fully illuminated by the morning sun to get a better look. This would be a pleasant oasis in the desert for those who eked out an existence here. We followed the valley east of Comb Ridge to the south and landed at the airport. That was an amazing flight. We celebrated with a huge meal at the Barbecue and Bluff, our last good meal for several days. I set up my tent on the ramp to keep the rattlesnakes from snuggling next to my sleeping bag in the middle of the night, and I slept well. We would be up early the next morning and eventually regroup with Todd later in the day at the Hanksville Airport.